You know, I'm serious when I say this isn't even a joke now. The idea of Connor Bedard becoming a Vancouver Canuck at one point, or essentially leaving the Chicago Blackhawks at one point, is all of a sudden more real than ever before. We already made a video on this YouTube channel earlier yesterday when Connor Bedard signed his 5-year, $15 million AAV contract. We said in this video, hey, Bedard is setting himself up for an Odysseus-like return to Vancouver. For a guy who cried weeks after the Vancouver Canucks lost in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2011. A guy who would endlessly, interview after interview, proclaim his love for the Vancouver Canucks back when he was a Regina Pat in the WHL. There was an interview, I think it was with Bar Down, where Connor Bedard said at the time, of course, he wasn't drafted at that time, but he said his favorite Canuck was Tyler Motte. Like, do you know how much of a gosh darn Vancouver Canucks fan you gotta be to go out there and say proudly that Tyler Motte is your favorite Canuck? That just means you know puck. You know who are the true leaders on and off the ice that were able to make the most impressive impacts during their time with the Canucks. And Connor Bedard signing a 5-year deal that goes until 2031 and walks him straight to unrestricted free agency status. That just makes it even more brilliant when you think of the plan that would land Bedard back in Vancouver. In fact, there was an element to the Bedard situation that we didn't even talk about in yesterday's video. It's the fact that Connor Bedard has a full no-move clause just in year 5. He don't have no move clauses in years 1, 2, 3, and 4, it seems. He's only got it in that 5th year. And that is really significant. It's a power move from the player's perspective to have all the control heading into the last year of the contract's eligibility. A full no move in year 5 so he can force his way to Vancouver because the Blackhawks won't let him walk for nothing. The contract couldn't be better set up for Bedard and the Vancouver Canucks. Bedard essentially puts all the pressure on Chicago. Hey, you've got 5 years, build a good team. If not, I'm going to exercise my right to only restrict a trade to any team of my choosing in year 5 of my contract, and you're going to have to trade me there. Either that or you let me stay on this team and I expire and I walk in free agency, you lose me out for nothing. This could be Mitch Marner 2.0. Marner to Vegas? Nah, Bedard to Vancouver. Let's go out there and read some tweets here. Tynan Durgan, who does stuff out of Brandon, Manitoba, went out there and said, if you were hoping the Bedard deal would stop rumors surrounding him leaving, it unfortunately may do the opposite. Bedard's 5x15 deal will take him directly to UFA status at the age of 25, where he can walk from Chicago and give a team 8 years of his prime. 8? Would it not be 6 if he's a UFA at that time? Anyways, I see this gaining traction over the last few minutes, so I need to clarify. Bedard could actually only sign for 6 years, okay, there you go, with another team, unless it's a sign-and-trade 7-year deal with the new rules in place. You had Sapster, who went out there and posted this. If you can't see the parallels between this situation and the Quinn Hughes situation, you're being a touch ignorant. The main difference, however, is that while the Canucks lost Hughes because of their ineptitude, the concern is the Canucks would screw up being the team on the other side of the coin. If Bedard really just wanted to maximize his earnings, he would have signed a 3-year deal. Now, that obviously is a staggering comparison to bring up. The Quinn Hughes situation was one where Quinn ultimately set himself up to get that control. He didn't have trade protection on his contract, but the Canucks, they understood this guy is really damn good, so he kind of deserves to be treated as if he has it. And also, the fact that Quinn Hughes is literally the second best defenseman on the planet makes it a lot more difficult to just trade him against his will to whichever team is willing to get him without a contract extension in place, or at the very least a verbal commitment. Quinn Hughes ended up signing for 6 years, $7.85 million. It's not like it walked him straight to UFA status. There was a year bought there. I have that correct, right? Do I have that correct? How many UFA years did the contract buy? I'm not sure, but it was a little bit more than what the Bedard contract currently is at. The Bedard contract, it's direct. It's like, oh, they are not trying to hide it at all. They're putting the timeline smack dab into UFA status for Connor Bedard to choose where he wants to continue his hockey playing career. And if anybody is given that opportunity to have that choice, lately it seems like we've seen players more so exhibit that choice and use it to move elsewhere. This Quinn Hughes situation is going to be Vancouver's turn. They can be the team that is acquiring the superstar player. But whether or not that actually is something that they'll be prepared for is another conversation. Let's go out there and read some other tweets over here. Canucks House said, that's actually insane that Connor Bedard signed that. But it's no joke now. The countdown is on. If the Canucks are competitive in 5 years, he will be that piece that gets you over the top. And he definitely wants to play for the Canucks. It's the worst-kept secret. Yeah, no matter what you say when it comes to contracts and commitments and desire to play long-term in Chicago, whatever, how good the Chicago Blackhawks can be with or without Bedard in the lineup, at the end of the day, we know that Bedard wants to play for the Canucks. And anybody who says he would reject that opportunity at any point is kind of nuts. He would want to do that. This guy bleeds blue and green. He would want to come over. Is that not reasonable to say? But now, the Vancouver Canucks have a task as well. Build properly over the next 5 years. Get Landon Dupont in the draft in 2027. Sign him to a 3-year ELC and then give him a long-term 7-year deal at the cheapest dollar amount you can get him at. Same thing with Caleb Malhotra. Same thing with Braden Coots and Novotny and Lekaramaki if he's still on the team. Do what you can to replicate that Montreal Canadiens model to entice a guy like Connor Bedard to come over to a team that is budding and that is potentially on the cusp of greatness. We know Bedard is amazing now. He was over a point per game. He'll continue to get better as this contract kicks in and he makes $15 million a year. If the Chicago Blackhawks retain Bedard up until the start of the 2030-2031 season, though, it's essentially game over. The entire decision will be in Bedard's hands. Does he want to stay in Chicago? Great, then he'll sign. Does he want to go elsewhere? Great. Then he'll use his no-move clause and exercise the rights there to only get traded to where he wants to go. Or he'll just walk straight to UFA status and potentially join Vancouver or another team in 2031. Finally, you had this post made. Mark Lazarus posted an article on The Athletic talking about the Connor Bedard negotiation, and this excerpt was making the rounds. Bedard, at one point, considered an even shorter deal to maximize his earning potential. In other words, he wanted to walk to Vancouver even quicker. That 5th year was just Bedard being generous. This is a guy that had a chance to get a shorter-term deal for less money per season, and in the process of doing that, by the time the 3-year deal would have expired, he could have gotten even more money than potentially $15 million a year. There was a chance for him to do that, but with that also comes the risk of Chicago re-upping him in 3 years saying, hey, let's just sign you to a long-term deal. We really want to get you to 8. Let's get you to 7. Let's get you to 6. And then Bedard's like, okay, well, now I'm 24 years old. They're signing me till I'm 30. This contract that he's got right now takes him to UFA status at the age of 26. It's perfect. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Connor Bedard contract and everything falling into place for him to become a Vancouver Canuck. Do you agree that this situation parallels the Quinn Hughes departure from the Canucks? And do you think it's an inevitability that Bedard is a Vancouver player long term? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.